So that thing I was trying to remember what to do was to add the audio input capture to the panel for the live setup. And now I just did because, you know what, I just remembered. But hey, welcome to National Herding Cat Day. As you see here, we have 5 cats that require constant herding through the adventures of the Descendants. If you could only hear what they say to me before we start game, it's quite hilarious.
No Sphinx cats here. We all have hair.
Well, not all of us, but I appreciate
it. Kinda.
Well, he's got more. Look at that post SCA fighting sneer. I know that look very well. And I took a picture that I need to send you because I have a sticker, Calamex, that I keep on our knife throwing table. When we throw knives at it, I'm going to send it to you right now in Discord.
Knife throwing table?
Well, a knife throwing surface, like a big old block of wood, and we throw knives and axes at it. I mean, when you live on 13 acres, you find yourself doing a lot of stupid shit. So.
Oh, that sounds pretty fun, actually.
Well, then of course the best thing to do is to get, alcohol involved with sharp edge weapons coursing through the air and past things.
Sounds about right.
Right? So let me...
I suck at axe throwing, though. I can never actually get them to stick.
I love axe throwing.
I'm just bad at it. I'd love to be able to do it. I can do archery, no problem, but throwing axes...
You just have to know when to let it go at the right moment.
Does that sticker look familiar there, Calamex?
No, I don't know. You should not disrespect those people. They seem like they're better than you or something.
Oh, hey, at least we have an annual war we can rely on.
Oh, okay, you can fuck off with that one.
Well,
it's not our fault.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's the middle of the week, and you know what that means? It's the middle of the week. Welcome to the Descendants, a 1920s alt history campaign, homebrew campaign. We use a little bit of Cortex during the character creation, and we're going to continue to use what I like to call the creative nature of some of the Cortex rules as it relates to the characters. They will actually be building skills, building feats, and learning things within the game. And then they will customize these as they evolve their characters. We are also introducing a couple things from Mage the Ascension. More importantly, a MAD system or maddening system where you can earn madness dice that will affect you whether you roll a critical 1 or a critical 20. We also have some custom homebrew rules that we've already reviewed. We're also using some of the basic 5e framework of rules. So we're basically playing a theme using a bunch of different tabletop role-playing game rule sets to kind of, explore this idea that themes could be a little bit more interesting than specific games. And this particular theme, we have a couple collisions going on. The old world of Toril has died, and with its death, a gateway opened up and brought the remaining survivors of Toril into Terra Firma. And for the better part of 10 years, the integration of the population of Toril into the population of Terra Firma, 1917 through 1927, has brought us to this point. And this theme that I've been kind of toying with is the idea of I can't remember the name of the show, but actually it might have been the name of the show. I think there was a name of a show called What If many years ago, and they would explore themes, and then they would produce a show about what if, what if Germany won World War II? What if we didn't go to the moon? What if, right? So this particular theme, what if these two universes collided? And what would it mean for Terra Firma, the timeline, the evolution of the difference between a human versus a Terran, because for the most part, if you're from planet Earth, you're technically a Terran. If you're a human from Toral, you're essentially a human or a human variant. But all the other lineages from Toral are also involved in this world. And we've introduced some steampunk themes, as well as introducing some Cthulhu themes within here. The Great One does wander the world. The idea of good and evil is very gray, as these two collisions of time and this transcending of what this new universe that's being created is affecting everything and everyone, changing the pace of evolution, changing the pace of technology, and all those fun things. So everything you need to know about TTRPG Academy is down below in the About section. All of our family of creators are down there. As soon as CalDev gets her experimental gaming system on its own channel in our Discord, we will put her panel up here as well, because she will be officially a creator. Calamax, otherwise known as Enigma on our Discord, runs our Tuesday afternoon game called Titan's Revival. Calamax, tell us a little bit about that game.
Crazy.
That is a very little bit.
Homebrew worlds that I've created after about 2.5 years of repression. Put it together. I put together some kind of odd people that came together, made a great D&D party, and kind of keep me on my toes every time I get them to play. But, I got to get them to cry at least once a month. So, I throw the little plot twists here and there. I make sure that it's all crazy and it's fun. And, who doesn't like high magic, high technology world? Especially when they're at war.
This is very true. And I know you're wrapping some of your activity up, Jesse, but tell us a little bit about this playtest system that we'll be experimenting with pretty soon.
Yeah, this is a system that's kind of near and dear. I've been working on it for about, just over 10 years now. Creating a whole unique system, background, backstory, different characters, races, the whole shebang. So I have been more recently working on modifying part of it to catch up to kind of more recent D&D equivalents, with still some little extra things thrown in that match the universe. Almost unwrapping those up, getting the campaign going, and I am taking bribes. The highest bribe so far is to play on Thursday nights. Probably every other, since it is a play test. So I have time to go over what worked and what didn't in a more thorough manner than in a regular game. But I'm excited to introduce this world, hopefully happening soon. Like I said, I'll take bribes for different days, but right now the highest bribe is for Thursday nights.
Yes, I am very good at the bribing of the bribes. I don't get to play much in games, so I'm really looking forward to being part of a test game. I think that's going to be freaking awesome. So we will be working out those details, hopefully by August, maybe, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, there's a couple things I had to modify to make it work a little more smoothly over like a camera, not in-person setting, and then to bring a couple more things up to speed, since when I started creating this, it was still 3.5. It was the main D&D system. So adding a few elements for 5e, adding a few elements for distance playing, and getting the campaign a little bit more solid. So
and
should have that wrapped up hopefully
skipping
in the next week.
Purposely skipping over 4e. I like that. That's edgy.
We don't talk about 4e unless we're talking about board games. we don't do that. But yeah, hopefully in the next week or so I'll have it ready to go to where I can start really promoting it, getting players, getting characters created, and start playing in August.
Very nice. Very nice.
Start getting it together in August at least.
Yeah.
Session Zero might be near the end of August by the time we actually get enough players and get characters built. But if you're interested, come join us on Discord. Shoot me a message. I'm Vandrina.
Absolutely. And we will have an event posting for it. We'll get people around it and get you some play testers, because I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So Let's
Be
talk.
very soon. Within the next week, we'll have something somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about where we last left off. It was an interesting session, to say the least, last week. Our team is now kind of more of a team, as they all met at a particularly rundown diner in the southwest of the United States in a little community not far outside of San Diego. Once in this diner, they met an individual who never gave her name but had a German accent. She led the team to what appeared to be a murder scene, an assassination of President Coolidge, the Masonic and the Council of Unity leader. And they kind of solved the puzzle. They solved it in such a way that they had convinced the hall keeper that these 5 had earned the right to choose their descendants and participate with the Council of Unity and become caretakers and become those that, when they travel the world as descendants, after picking their descendants, they are doing their best to either preserve a world in jeopardy or to preserve the idea of a world in jeopardy. And each one of our players were allowed to describe what they liked from a concept of a persona, and then I rolled on some available tables that I had built. And in the Hall of Descendants, they had met an individual unnamed, but dressed like a very old school medieval kind of blacksmith, but with modern 1920s attire, but found out that Albert Einstein had obviously chose that individual as a descendant, because it's Mr. Einstein that is the hall keeper. And being the hall keeper of the Unity Order, this affords him the opportunity to recruit, test, and allow the descendants to continue on in their efforts of preserving not only this world, but many other worlds that they come in contact with. The team picked. Calamex picked Nostradamus. Kiki Lee picked Ragnar Lothbrok, or to a certain degree, they kind of pick each other. McCallan picked Sherlock Holmes. Keldov picked Jane Austen, which was really creepy because she was reading a Jane Austen book that day, and I had no idea. And then, of course, the weird and tropic kind of individual that Random Ward is picked the most uninfluential, benign, uninteresting descendant, and he got Thomas Crapper, the inventor of the toilet.
Uninfluential, but this is probably the only invention that we use on a regular basis out of everybody's character.
But it begs the question,
You're right.
what is more important, the toilet or the sewer? Anybody can
Sewer
piss.
system.
Anyone can piss and shit in a hole. So, I mean, I kind of like the idea that really Thomas Crapper invented something that was kind of just slightly more convenient than just, a wooden box over a hole.
But it keeps you from having to go to the sewer to get rid of your expilations.
There's some countries that have holes and they flush and they work just fine. But Thomas Crapper lets you play video games while sitting and doing your business. He didn't even foresee that. So
Mind blown,
Or stare
Kiki
at
Lee.
your phone
Mind
for hours
blown.
at a time.
yeah.
True legend.
Reddit, reading books, reading Jane Austen books,
And angry birds and angry pigs colliding in constant battle for many, many years. So,
Or reading the back of shampoo bottles if you forget your phone or your book.
true.
Oh yeah.
Just
Hey, I keep
look at
a
split ends
bookshelf
at
in
that
my
point.
toilet now.
In the toilet?
Yeah, it's
In
in my
the
toilet.
That's freaking crazy, dude. How
Yeah,
big's
like-
your toilet?
There's a little
how do you keep them dry?
No, there's a little side
We're
compartment that
like
like
in a
I can
whole
put
nother
books in there.
conversation right now.
And with that notion, one of the things we discovered after they had chosen their descendants or their descendants had chosen them was that the assassination actually hasn't taken place yet. that the very test was nothing more than a foreboding possibility of an assassination. And with this, Mr. Einstein, back in his alternate descendant form, because he has become a master of the descended, leads the five of you back into the room that was hosting the assassination details. On the way there, the five of you watch as a very familiar augmented goblin quickly comes out of a side room, smiles at all of you and kind of winks and starts following behind. That's Rowley. His little insertion of himself was what we call the third party test. Everything seems normal until you insert that weird individual and to see if it throws you off balance, which we were shocked to discover. It just made it more interesting for all of you. And of course, you've met Yodam, and you watch as Yodam comes into the hallway to join the rest of you towards the room. And you've also met 1145. Most of our field agents do not use names, both for protection and purposes of, well, if they are captured and suffer under the cruelty of torture, you can't exactly give names away if you don't have them. So, she is 1145. I am so glad that all of you passed the test. You all seem like interesting individuals. The 8 of you, 9 of you, actually pass your way into the room. And it's here that the Einstein descendant, who merely calls himself Thomas for all intents and purposes, looks at all of you and points down the stairs. He then begins to describe this room as a projection room. And as he describes that to you all, once again, everything is here as it was. Anything that you stole, faded, was not kept. Another interesting thing is in the far right-hand corner of the room is an individual strapped to a metal gurney. It looks like one of the goblins in the projection. There's a series of copper and steel cables attached to his body and some kind of ceramic head covering that's pulsing with like a weird kind of archonic energy, almost like it's absorbing and projecting his mental image out into this space. So we had recently acquired this agent from those at the Mexico border, and well, they brought him to us. Once we interrogated him and dug as deep as we could, the plan that you see displayed around you here is the plan that they plan on executing. He's convinced it's going to be successful, so much that we are able to project the conclusion that this individual feels will happen. And with that, go ahead and bring you guys back up to date. And we're back in the lodge laboratory as projected. The 4 individual goblins, as your investigations produced the details that it did. All of your investigations and all your information that you gathered is still relevant, just nothing was tangible. Nothing could be taken, as this is nothing more than a projection of a creature's intent to carry this out. Now, you have noticed that we put publications in the newspaper that the president has already been assassinated. We did this in hopes that, this would draw out our quarry, as if to maybe simulate that they had executed a little bit too early rather than expected. It has not quite worked that way. However, we do have this one captive. And with that, you watch as 1145 begins to walk over to the gurney. Yodam takes his normal position over by the stairs. the little goblin known as Riley kind of walks amongst you with a simple pad of paper and pencil, as he is merely taking notes of anything that anybody says, almost like a kind of scribe-like behavior, but writes with a furious pace. Everything that Thomas says, he quickly scrawls down, flips over a page of paper, and he's taking notes. So, this begs the question. How do we do this? How do we figure out who has issued the orders? We have 7 days to figure this out. Now, let us summarize your discoveries. The augmentation is correct. President Coolidge is a master dreamer. He's not the head of the order. He's the head of the Masonic, and he's the head of our Unity Council. But he is a master dreamer. He is in partnership with both Tesla and Mr. Edison and some other individuals who have been working on augmentation ever since these magical artificer incantations and infusions and the understanding of artificer technology. Now, what we do know is along the U.S. and Mexico front line in the trenches, some units have been showing up with these augmentations. So it's quite possible that some of this has already been stolen and utilized. Now, the only difference is we believe Coolidge was working on something new, something different. That information would appear to be true, that we know of his laboratory, this image, this projection that we've taken apart. The assassins seem to be who they are. The evidence, the details, we do know for a fact that Mr. Coolidge, or President Coolidge, does wear a reactionary adamantine vest designed to protect him. All presidents wear these now. So, thoughts?
Has the goblin on the gurney projected himself as one of the assassins?
Yes.
Can I take a look?
Yep. Go ahead and
Okay,
give
so
me
he's a good
give me an investigation check.
And you said he was found on the Mexican border?
I guess for the 1920s purposes, the southwest border would be a little bit more accurate. So along the, he was captured, retrieved, and brought to wherever this location is, which has still not been determined yet, brought to this location based on crossing the U.S.-Mexico border and making his way through the front lines to get here.
Okay.
17 on that investigation.
Okay, who am I missing?
For some reason we can't see Keldev anymore. And random word.
Randoms in the room. There we go.
Okay,
There
there.
we go. I think somebody's camera turned on and off, and then my pop-out screen got a little bit wonky. So what'd you get for investigation, Caldev?
17.
17. Okay. What are the rest of you doing with your time currently?
I was gonna ask a question just kind of to help me understand exactly what we were seeing, the 3D projection. I just wanted to ask, is this an actual 3D rendering, kind of like a photograph of what was, so was it a possibility, or is it an actual picture of something that does happen if things go a certain way? And they somehow...
This is a mental projection of what this particular goblin thinks will happen.
Ah. Okay, got it.
And who was presenting this info to us? Was it the German lady?
No, this is now Thomas, who's kind of leading the summation and pretty much bringing you all back here to see if there's more information you could possibly glean. Caldev, are you investigating the image or the actual goblin itself?
Both. I want to see if the goblin that's on the table has included himself in this successful assassination.
Oh.
Yeah, and he has. He is the third one. You recognize the you recognize some of the key features of it. The scar on the cheek. One of the teeth is broken. The particular armor that it's wearing, kind of like simple cloth, almost like cloth shirt, pants with like a thin leather vest underneath, short work boots, gloves. You can see the augmentation scars on the one on the gurney, almost as if the augmentations were removed. But the creature in the image still has the augmentations.
So either this goblin has a hero complex and is imagining himself in the scenario, or whoever the assassins are going to be on the lookout for one more assassin to join their team.
This really puzzles me because I did not think that we had this technology like this here on Earth. So this was garnered from his mind. When he's strapped on there, you're able to extract this from his mind.
Well, it's not what you call technology. I would call it more creativity. We have an illithid on the payroll. This particular illithid, knows psychic projection quite well. She designed this device for us. It's more magic than tech, if that makes sense.
Got it. Taking notes.
Calex is what?
Not extremely dangerous at fuck at all. Nah. Nah.
Doesn't want to take over your brains at all. And control
Doesn't
you.
want to eat those. Nah.
I walk up to Thomas, and I'll say, you say you found him at the near the Mexican border?
Well, he was captured there, yes.
I have some contacts that I could reach out to.
I will arrange the information of his capture for you. It's a little town called Thinville. It sits maybe 2 miles behind the U.S. front lines, near a choke point in one of the major roads used to deliver reserves, ammunitions to the front line. There's a train station there as well, I believe. Give me a history check, random.
14.
Yeah, it's a smuggling corridor. You know Thinville well. With the onset last year of the opening of the front along the Mexican border, and the inclusion of the Mexican military on the side of the Bismarck, and the side of the Germans and their coalition, there's been an increase in smuggling of goods, not only to U.S. troops, but to Mexican soldiers on the other side. Nothing breeds a healthy black market like war.
Have I used this corridor before for my business?
No, normally you would deliver as a drop-off to some of the local train stations that would make it there. You've been more of a hub than a direct delivery service lately. Mostly because you're trying to avoid anything related to the war.
All right.
Bless you,
Yeah.
Kiki. Oh, and then
Thank
Kiki,
you.
while you're kind of taking all this in and wondering about this, a voice reconnects in your head. Sorry, mistress. We seem
Oh,
to
you're
have
back.
we had lost the ability to communicate with you. Now that we are up to speed on everything that has occurred, and then you hear a voice in your head, a second voice in your head, Kiki. What the hell is that? Why is there another voice in here?
Oh.
Don't you know
I'm
this is
gonna
what? Did you already pick someone else? Why pick
I'm gonna
me?
talk to Ragnar. I'm not gonna speak aloud because it's like there's too much going on. I'm just gonna say, I'm an alien, right? Like,
I don't know what that is. What's an alien? What do you mean an alien? What are you?
I'm not from this earth. Think of your gods like Odin and Freya and
So that other
or
voice.
they're not of this earth.
Okay, so
Think of it as
then what is that other voice? What is that?
it is my contact back from my planet. So, yeah, you'll be hearing a lot of. This will be very interesting for you, Ragnar. This will be very interesting for you.
I will do what my sons used to tell me. Sit down and listen.
Yes. I think you'll have fun.
Sorry about that, mistress. We were not aware.
Do they hear Ragnar? Oh, it's just me. I hear Ragnar, but they don't hear
Correct.
Ragnar.
You kind of pick up on that
Okay,
because
good.
because the
I'm like-
the network voice goes back to describing apologies. We did not recognize that this was a magical projection. We were not aware. Somehow something was blocking our sensory abilities to understand the very essence of this. For us, the network, we thought it was real. Please forgive us, and we are sorry. We are beginning to download and assimilate all information that you've required within the last hour or so, and we will put it all in a report and get it back to you as soon as possible. Is there anything else we can do for you?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Very well. You kind of feel that kind of mental network disconnect go on. So, we know that the contact was in Thinville. What he was doing there, who he was waiting for, don't know. One of our agents, 1042, intercepted the contact, successfully brought him here for interrogation. Thoughts? Possible motives? Ideas? I mean, I'm digging the bottom of the barrel here, people.
Have you began
What other
interrogating it yet?
Oh, this is the outcome of its interrogation. Its mind is quite fractured.
Ah.
What other verification of this assassination do we have besides this goblin?
Well, we do know that there's a great deal of anticipation over two major events that are about to happen. One, there are rumors of peace talks between the Mexican government and the United States that may even be involved with the German government. A possibility of, well, switching sides, as they say. It is both unpopular and not something that the Unity Council agrees with, but we do our best to stay out of politics as much as possible. That is one.
Wait. The U.S. is switching sides to the Nazi side? Oh, no, this is World War I.
World War I, you knucklehead.
Not the Nazis yet.
Not the
The
Nazis.
U.S. wants to
There are no
join.
Nazis here, you
They
nincompoop.
want to join the Ottoman Empire.
You want to join what empire you said?
The Ottoman Empire.
The Ottomans.
Oh man, that's so.
You gotta put your feet up on
Throwback.
something.
During this time, I wanna look and confirm that this goblin has that twisted eye tattoo.
Yep, he has it. The one that's
so I
casting
wanna-
the projection. The others, the second event he mentions while you're examining that. The other event is, well, Mr. Lindbergh will be attempting a transatlantic crossing with a new kind of airplane. It is very secretive, and we expect that President Coolidge and some other leaders will be there as well. Now, all of these things may culminate on the seventh day, but this projection is Mr. Coolidge's, or President Coolidge's, well, laboratory in New Mexico, in a local area where this hunting lodge was built, where he goes and does his studies. So we know, based on the image of the laboratory, it happens there. But what we don't know is whether or not President Coolidge has the ability to move from this location to other locations at the same time. That's under top secret clearance. And, well, his personal bodyguards prefer not to mention his full capabilities at this point. But they are cooperating.
Information is just the image, the truths in the images. We have no other collaboration besides events that are happening on a world stage.
Correct.
And images from this goblin's mind.
Correct. Now, unfortunately, we believe, well, she believes, that this image will only be held for another 24 hours before his brain melts, and then we will discard of him. But for now, we have this information, this detail that we need to... Somewhere in this image is the source. Somewhere here is the pathway to the beginning. We merely need to find it.
Surprised you wasted so much time testing us if it was such a delicate state.
Oh, well, I wouldn't call it wasted time. You still glean the information you glean, and you didn't go mad in the process, and you weren't killed by our psychic projection of our test. Therefore, you pass. Had you all died, memories wiped, sent back, new contestants would have been looked for.
And you would have lost the projection from the goblin's mind because it would have taken more than 24 hours.
It's possible, yes.
How much time has he been hooked up to there while you tested all these others before us?
2 days. Well, we test based on the incident. You're the only ones we've tested as far as this particular incident requires. We have many agents out there furthering our cause. When major incidents occur or major schisms happen, we reach out, we look for good candidates, we bring them in, they test, they fail, they fail, they pass, they pass. They have no knowledge of their failure, but they pass, they become either field agents or they become mated with descendants like you and become descendants.
Oh,
Are there telephones at this time?
Mm-hmm.
I say, let me call a few of my associates to ask about anybody that's made a move
And they're not
at the borders.
Yeah, they're not ubiquitous, right? Telephones
Yeah.
at this point are at major hubs of communities. Major cities have some of them. It's more like if you wanted to call somebody that you think you coordinate with them to go to like a local general store or to go to a train station, and then you call that store or train station. I mean, the average phone number is 3 or 4 numbers.
Okay, so I wouldn't have anything set up at my base
Give me
of operations.
give me another history check.
And I'm also assuming, due to the high-techness of this facility, that they would also have one.
It's possible. You haven't seen one yet.
I got a 10.
10. You've found that phones are still pretty unreliable and limited. You mostly use messenger services to accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Okay. Then I say yeah, if you let me go out back and reach out to my people, then I could look into a few of these avenues for you.
McCallan, there's a voice in your head. Well, I must say, dear boy, would you mind going and taking a look at the individual on the table or gurney or whatever he called it, just for a moment?
I'll go and look.
Okay. And as you start looking, go ahead and give me investigation with advantage.
It's a 15.
15. Well, now, this is interesting. Look at the whiteness around his eyes, around the ridge lines of his eyes. He's been in the sun, and it appears he's been wearing goggles, dear boy. Now, look at his knees. His knees are heavily chafed and slightly calloused. There's a little bit of wear on those knees as well. And if you examine the boot tips, you'll notice that there's pieces of leather kind of slightly shaved off. And look at the red Rio Grande pebbly dust in the grit of his boots. This individual's
It's very specific.
well, this individual's
Sherlock
been
Holmes, dude.
this individual's been in a tunnel, dear boy.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, why didn't McAllen know that, dude? Is he a dummy or something?
Seen that show? He's crazy. Everything's like,
No,
oh,
it's called Now I Have Cheat Codes.
you do. We have cheat codes with Sherlock
Goodness
Holmes.
gracious.
You
Is
do.
McAllen a private eye or what?
The best investigator of all time. Like,
And
in
of course,
his
when
head.
those voices execute, they only execute in your head. You have not mastered altering your image to look like your descendant. You've not, there's a whole progression you have to go through to be able to do a lot of things. They currently choose when to intercede right now. In other words, I roll a die and then they,
Not done enough research about Nostradamus. There's so much shit out there for him. The dude is literally
Predicted
off
the end of the
wall.
world, okay?
The dude is literally off the wall in so many ways.
Any new thoughts? Any new ideas?
Wait. You said he's in front. Wait. Question. You said this guy was in Mexico, right? He came from the
He was
Mexico.
found at the border, like somewhere near the border.
Agent
Can I?
Agent 1045 managed to capture him near the border. Yes.
Most people near that border, well, near Mexico and the Southwest, all have either signs or immunities towards the disease that's going on, the Spanish plague, and how it's mutated magically.
Interesting. Blood sample.
Am I able to detect? Can I get a blood sample and detect? I just want to. Okay. I open up my bag.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull out a syringe,
Okay.
a giant metal syringe that has a strange contraption assorted on the left and right. And I'll go and I say, "May I extract some fluids from the individual?"
Oh, please, dear boy. We hadn't even thought of that.
I stick a syringe in there and I pull out blood.
As
I pull it out, sorry.
No, go ahead. As you begin to extract the blood, go ahead.
As I pull it out, I have an apparatus attached to the sides of the syringe that gives me a detection of if it's whether or not he's been in contact with the disease at all.
And you
So it's infected areas.
Yeah, and you recognize that as the blood fills up the one right side of the apparatus, there is magic that is detected in his blood, which you happen to link with the effect of what's referred to as the Spanish plague.
So specifically in Mexico, because I don't know about Mexico, I know about in America because of my research. Where are the biggest contaminations of, or maybe not continued, where are the biggest
Infection rates?
infection rates?
Give me a history check.
Story. Oh, that's actually good. That's a 17 total.
17. The infection rates within the Southwest have always fluctuated. For the most part, they got worse across the Southwest between 1920 and 1922. There was another wave of infections in 1925. And then there hasn't been any sign of infections in the Southwest since then. But the greatest rate had been in the state of Jalisco within Mexico.
So there hasn't been any recent ones, but their
Not
biggest
recent.
infection rate is in Jalisco.
Correct.
Well, we got an area. This
Are you
man
saying
has
this
been
out
to
loud?
Jalisco. I'm
Okay.
saying this part. I say this man has been to Jalisco.
Do I have any contacts in Jalisco?
Give me a history check.
18.
No, you do not. That place is a zone 4 for the black market distribution networks. No one is allowed to trade there, do business there, or exist there from a criminal aspect. Caldev, give me an insight check really quick. 10. When Calamex mentions Jalisco, it kind of triggers your mind for a moment. There is supposedly the beginnings of a healthy-sized drow community in that area. Whether it's related or not, you find it interesting because, well, drows are interesting. Unfortunately, the DC was higher, but you did get a 10, so I was able to give you a little bit.
Okay.
Where are the
Second-
other large drow communities that I'm aware of?
Give me a history check.
Second question.
Advantage for American history?
Um,
American
Mexican
history.
Not advantage because we're talking about Mexico?
well, not necessarily, because it's a purely historical reference post Gateway Transcending. Yeah, with advantage would be okay, because you have a decent understanding of what the drow are and what they're
Okay.
capable of.
21.
21. There is a known community in a place called Peru, and there's another known community in a place called New York State. Go
New
ahead.
York State, as in where I used to live.
Correct. Calamex, go ahead.
The second part I had was because of my detailed research that I've been doing on this plague specifically. Do I have any researcher contacts that live in Mexico that I could have frequent contact? I could have had frequent contact.
Go ahead and give me a history check.
Can I guide myself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, 17 plus 4 is a 21.
There is a elderly doctor in Mexico City, goes by the name of Tristan Waters. He is one of your contacts that you've worked with before. He specifically specializes in endemic, pandemic, and mutagenic studies of viruses and disease.
Okay. That's interesting. Could I ask the Unity if they've ever had contact with this individual at all?
You tell me.
Oh,
Are you? Do you?
No, I'm sorry. I'm the agent here. I want to ask the agent if the Unity specifically has had contact with that individual.
I am not familiar with that name. Dr. Tristan Waters. We shall look into it.
He has been helping me research my research so far.
Kiki, there's a little beepy noise in your head. Sorry to disturb you, mistress, but the name Dr. Tristan Waters was just indicated in a conversation you are having. We have located his body near the outskirts of Mexico City. And then a geodesic kind of map image appears in your head, and it's in a small rural farming community. And there's like a whole police report that comes with it, a little like a news. So it's like almost like he went out, the network went out, grabbed all this info, and brought it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to bring this up and say, hey, Dr. Tristan Waters, that sounds so familiar. I saw in a newspaper article that his body was found in the outskirts of Mexico City. Sorry if he was your friend, but he did.
Did McCallum say any of Sherlock Holmes' findings out loud?
I don't think so.
Not to our knowledge.
I'll let them know
Okay.
that it appears that this goblin has been traveling through the tunnel, and based on some of the soiling, that the soil is consistent with areas near the Mexico border. Oh,
Are we taking a road trip to Mexico?
There's a
Wait.
drow community near Jalisco, and if this goblin has been there, it might explain some of his underground presence.
Do I know where he was at? Was he near the Jalisco settlement?
Who?
Tristan
I mean,
or
he's
Professor Waters. That's how I address it.
yeah. I mean, Dr. Waters would travel all over the border regions and all over the border states. I mean, most of your interactions with him were a couple years ago when the height of the infection rate in this area was quite profound. The infection rate here is now very low, to the point to where it's hardly even reported or recorded anymore. And you kind of lost track of him over those years. You've never really had to reach out to Mexico City and track him down for the purposes of any further consultation at this point.
Fräulein 1145. I have a question for you and a request.
Yes, what is it?
Do you think you could reach out to one of my contacts south of the border? You could speak with Carlos or his brother Francisco. They're my contacts. They're my business contacts down there. They might know something, since you don't have a phone here.
Well, I certainly could try. I mean, what was his name again, dear?
Carlos and Francisco, his brother.
Okay. And where are they normally located?
They should be down by Tijuana.
Very good. Well, we will send word to our agents there. We will try to track them down for you. Is there
Thank
any...
you. They might know something.
Very good. And is there a specific message I should send to them once I track them down?
We'll tell them they are aware of the coyotes that they employ, and they have a pulse on any smuggling that goes on. And I look around and I lean in and say, and also ask them if they could up my order of tequila next time. It was really good.
As
Please,
I certainly can do that.
tell them I'll provide them with more bourbon.
You have a steady supply of bourbon then?
I could get something special for them. The Mexicans, they love the American spirits.
Do you think you could afford a couple boxes for us as well? Couple cases, perhaps? I am quite
I'm not-
fond of American bourbon.
I'm not running a charity, but if you put in an order, then I could definitely definitely procure some for you.
No charity needed. And you watch as
okay.
she reaches into her pocket and pulls out $300 and hands it to you.
You could give it to me when I provide, but
That's how
I'll make a note of it.
I'm not sure how this works, but I love American bourbon. Very hard to get since the war started down here.
Yeah. We have a contact, and my new employee will be able to keep track of all this.
It's good.
Caldev, we have a new customer. Please keep track. Thank you.
Wow, what the?
You watch as the Goblin
I thought I
Riley.
was taking care of girls.
Yeah, you're watching as the Goblin Riley looks at Caldev, writes something down, and he just kind of sneers at the two of you and goes back to writing.
To fill this order. Bourbon.
So, shall we summarize our
I wrote it
thoughts?
down.
945.
Based on what
Mexico.
Calimax has determined, his infected blood tells us that he was from the state of Jalisco, which is quite far from here and very close to this Mexico City. We also know that Dr. Tristan Waters' body has been found. Whatever circumstance that is, we do not know. We also know that the goblin in question made its way here through a tunnel. This is all new information we did not have.
Okay, so what about? Do we have any underground contacts that know or known coyote trails or coyote tunnels?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah.
No. I'm not asking for you. I'm asking from me.
Oh, like on your end.
Yeah. Do I have?
You
'Cause-
better not, bro. You in my territory, dude.
Uh,
It doesn't work here, dude.
Let me remind you
I'll
something.
go to war,
My boss
dude.
is bigger than you. So
Oh boy, not for long, dude. Not for long, dude. Al Pacino's
Oh my
going down,
Al
dude.
Pacino.
Oh my
Calimax, give me
Al
a
Pacino again?
what's up?
Calimax, give me a history check.
I'm gonna
Wow.
guide myself again.
Okay. I love it.
That's actually good already. That's a
Oh, I
24.
better not know about
24.
this, dude. I better not know about this.
Your contact network that you're aware of is more of a money laundering and kidnapping network that Mr. Capone is involved in. He doesn't dabble in smuggling that much. The limited amount of drug smuggling that he does, he actually does either through railway or through the air dirigibles that travel between some of the major cities. He's a little bit more on the sophisticated side. He doesn't really get involved in the granular types of smuggling that go on either along border regions or war zones. He's always kind of told you that they're a little bit more dangerous than they're worth when it comes to profit.
He's soft, dude. Homeboy's soft, man. He's getting soft.
I'm pretty sure he's not. But okay.
Well, he's a little pudgy.
I mean, he can be pudgy, but I made him bionic arms, so
You also cured his syphilis, so it's
Yeah.
all.
he's never dying anytime soon.
That might
We'll
be
see.
a stretch.
Let me
That might
remedy
be a
this, dude.
stretch.
Let me remedy that
Of
real quick.
disease, he will
Of
not die
disease,
anytime
yeah.
soon. 'Cause I'm that type of doctor.
Caldov and I will remedy that.
Calimax, how did you know that this goblin was from where are we talking about?
State of Jalisco.
Jalisco.
Jalisco, baby.
How did you know this goblin was from Jalisco?
I'm a doctor. I do a lot of research. And I communicate with other doctors. One of the researches that I'm doing is on a plague that is rampant throughout the world. Currently, the only place in Mexico with current infection rates of this plague is in Jalisco.
Have you worked with many of the dark fae in reference to this plague?
Am I? It's a good question.
It's up to you. Remember, this game allows you guys to create pretty much everything you want on the
No,
fly. If you're looking
the
for
question-
clarity of geolocation and stuff like that, we'll roll and check. But if you know,
clarity that I
So there
would
are
need specifically would be: does this disease affect dark fae or fae in general?
it affects anything living.
So do I know? Because I know dark fae more care about spreading a disease than curing it. Would I have worked with any of the dark fae? at
So
all?
with that kind of questioning, go ahead and give me a quick medicine check first.
Is my boy Yodam there?
Yeah, he's up by the doorway.
Oh, when Calamex starts talking about like he's working on a plague or like some illness or something, I lean into Yodam and I just say, like syphilis, but in Orcish.
I look at him and say, "Oh, I already found a cure for that."
I think
say,
Kalamek speaks
"Mm."
Orcish, by the way.
You speak
Yeah.
Orcish?
In loudly, still in Orcish, knowing this, I say, "Yeah, he better have your boss, huh? Yeah."
28.
28. Now go ahead and give me an insight check with advantage.
Okay, I'm gonna guide myself with this as well.
Okay,
You said with advantage, correct?
correct.
That's a natural 20 for a 26 for
Wee-wah,
a 30
wee-wah.
total.
Okay. Go ahead and give yourself a D4.
D4 for
So,
what?
so you now have a D4. You've acquired a bit of madness from your masterful success.
This is good madness?
All madness is good madness. What are you talking about?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
You do not have to roll on it, but you've acquired it.
Okay, I wrote it down on my sheet.
Okay. There was some interaction between Dr. Waters and a couple of the Drow Tonopah clan leaders. The Tonopah clan leaders are different than some of the more traditional Drow clans. A lot of the traditional Drow clans had either stayed and are in the process of perishing as Toril descends into chaos and destruction, as they don't necessarily trust the purpose of the gateway. They also don't see a distinction between races. As far as they're concerned, Terrans are just humans. And they see this as a great threat to the overall stability of their own clan kind of existence. But the Tonopah had decided to make their way here, experiment and send for the others. There was a slight outbreak with their clan deep in their underground warrens. And oddly enough, they've become very successful miners here, mining precious metals for the purpose of manufacture, mining precious minerals for the purpose of manufacture. They've actually become masterful alchemists while here. They also have a command over great acreages in Jalisco. And this was known to you because Dr. Waters had described the territory that he had kind of gotten involved with within the state of Jalisco.
Okay, so geographically, where is Jalisco?
It
Is
is west of Mexico City. It is located, and this would be common knowledge. So there's Mexico City, and I believe that is, there's Michoacan to the west of Mexico City, and then it's Jalisco to the west of Michoacan. Jalisco does border the coastal North Pacific Ocean, and its capital city, I believe, its major city, which back in this time is not very big, is Guadalajara.
So it's right by, yeah, it'd be right by the Southern American border.
No, it's pretty far south. It's
Tron is
about,
produced there.
I mean, it's probably a solid 12 to 1,500 miles south of the border.
So either
Road
way,
trip?
it'd be, even going to Jalisco might not prove anything. But without going there, we don't know enough. Sorry, what was your question again, Caldov? Did I answer it?
If you had any dealings with the Dark Fae in regards to this plague.
I myself did not, but because of an outbreak in their community, me and Dr. Waters were able to do detailed research on not only their community, but their physiology and outbreak symptoms within their community. Because of this, we found out of more natural remedies and natural resistances that some races have for this disease, but it proved not fruitful because their communities still a dark elf community, and they're secretive, and they, at the end of the day, they still don't see very highly of humans. Think very highly of humans. That's words.
But you also said that Halamex. Not
I am Calamex.
Jalisco. I was
Jalisco.
combining them. Was a place where this plague was prevalent.
Yes. The infection rates there are probably the largest infection rates in Mexico.
I wonder why the drow would be making a new area for themselves in Jalisco.
Well,
If they
one of
are
the-
still more resistant, but
well,
it
at
does
the
seem
end of the
strange that they
day-
would choose a location that has prevalence of illness.
Well, think about this. They are one of the best manufacturers, providers. They are one of the best manufacturers, providers, and alchemical geniuses that they are. And they are one of the only dark elven clans that came over from Tor.
There's
They
other large
also,
clans all around the U.S. and South America, but
yes, but they are
they
one of the
choose large areas. This isn't as
Jalisco
large as the
is
other
a-
areas that they would choose.
it's still a large area, and it provides them with much needed influence over the territory, which is something that dark elves do find privy to.
Yes.
And since they have so much influence and they have so much gain there, it makes sense that they settled underground there. But if they did settle underground there, they would have knowledge of the tunnels that the coyotes would use, or they would be some of the people that make the tunnels. With how
Tunnels that
good of,
perhaps our goblin on the table there might have been using.
perhaps we'd have to discuss it with the geologist.
Or the
Which
person who
I'm
pointed out he was using tunnels in the first place.
McAllen, you're on a roll tonight. You hear an English voice in your head again. My dear boy, I was looking at a memory that you have. You dealt with a creature called a druga. Is that how it's pronounced? A dwarven creature that is somewhat nefarious, but happens to be very good at tunneling. Do they coexist with these creatures?
Did I know this?
Yeah, you would know. This would be for Furbog, and for your history of Toril, you would know that they have been known to coexist, usually as a lesser clan under the greater clans of the Drow, but they have often kind of symbiotically lived off of each other's needs when it was required.
I'll relay this information, everybody, that it might be Rugars making these tunnels to use for various purposes.
Why doesn't McAllen know this? Why are you letting Sherlock Holmes play you like this, dog?
Well, he's
You
not.
know that he's
But he's not telling you
Embarrassing us,
that.
bro. You're making us look bad. No, this is Richard talking to McAllen.
oh Richard
I'm-
talking to McAllen.
Show,
like, Random doesn't
show
know.
Sherlock Holmes up, dude. Tell him to shut up. Just be
Hey
like,
man, this
I
is a
already
lot
know.
of information that I don't know as a person. So
just tell Sherlock Holmes to shut up, and you already know this.
I wonder if it might be worth looking into this community. If there's so many things pointing to this potential involvement. The goblin being part of the assassination, going through tunnels, the tunnels potentially being made by something underneath the drow.
We should go.
And there's too many connections between these two locations, and we don't know if President Coolidge can get out of his, or how he gets out of his lab at the border.
Do you think we should write to him? And wait, does he know about this?
Yes,
He's a member of the
Yeah,
Unity.
his
The Unity.
agents and bodyguards are aware of the risk.
They're aware of this.
Yes, they're aware of the risk. The finer details, well, we keep to ourselves because, well, I'm not sure if the court of moral justification would allow us to melt a humanoid's brain for the purposes of extracting information, as they say. So our methods are our own.
Doing what to this guy? What? Yeesh.
Coolidge could be using tunnels. The drow and Grugar are excellent at tunnels.
Okay,
There's
I want to.
connection between where this goblin has potentially been from, according to our doctor.
I want to go and do one last cursory look at the projection to see any of these goblins. Look for any type of jewelry, any type of clothing, any type of things that might be specific
Can we do that
to a
already?
given region.
So go ahead and give me investigation with advantage because you've had 2 successful descendant rolls.
$17.
17. Taking in this projection yet again, the very edge of your mind are some of the details that point to some weird clarities for you. The hints and introspect that Sherlock Holmes offered you internalized do not appear in the projection. In other words, the goblin who is itself in the projection doesn't show any signs of the exposure to sunlight, the obvious signs of being inside of a tunnel. This leads you to believe that they were probably all going to meet up someplace to plot the final actions of their scheme. There's definitely a location somewhere that you feel like they were going to meet up at. The other thing that you find interesting is that all their clothing is identical. There's no distinguishable characteristics of their clothing at all. Almost like it's been purposely made that way.
I look closely at these goblins to look at their facial features and stuff like that to see if there's anything distinguishable or if they look very much like each other.
I'll say, as a last note, they all look very much like each other, almost identical.
I'll note this to the group. I say, these goblins appear to be almost copies.
Something called racist?
Goblins typically have features that are distinct. The
Right.
shape and length of their noses, shape and length of their ears, the slight skin tone changes.
So
These
with,
ones
like,
appear to be the same.
Heard of
With
a magic.
Comment
It's
before?
greater magic.
Yeah, with like the presence of magic is like you know this like kage bunshin no jutsu stuff like fairly common.
What?
Like or is
Doppelganger
it like
stuff?
is it weird? Like is this used in this world like
Owning, you're
in-
saying?
in like a way that's like common enough? or is this
There
like completely
are,
foreign?
I mean, there are monasteries. There are martial art practices that occur. Some martial arts are almost 1,000 years old, comparable. And the introduction of other specialties of monk-like existence and priests from the other world has introduced almost kind of like a combining of some of these martial arts. They're used, they're rare, they're very niche. Most people don't view it as, something that's publicly acceptable to, to partake in, because it's physical contact with people. It's, it's not quite seen as a sport yet. It's still evolving. It's still very much
But is it
evolving.
like the use of like clones and stuff? Like, is that common? Or not? If not clones, then copies, like with magic in this world and everything.
The duplication idea, some of the magics that allow you to duplicate self and to do things of projection, image projection, illusionary projection, this is doable. This is something that can happen. But once again, it's combining itself with a lot of modern concepts, as well as people that are, kind of coming up with new ways for things to work.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over to Caldev and just be like, how's it going?
I don't know. There's too
Hmm.
many disconnected pieces. But I
Yeah.
did get your order for bourbon written down.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So a little bit about the girls. Just two things. First is you might be wondering why I'm hiring you or asking you to help me out. There has to be like some barriers, between the workers and the boss, Also, they kind of they don't feel comfortable around men sometimes, and so I think having a more feminine touch would be very helpful. And so that's why you'd be looking over them. And the second one, I'm kind of embarrassed that I even have to say this. So take it with like a grain of salt or whatever. But if you ever take advantage of them or hurt them in any way or anything like that, then I'm gonna have my boys take you out back and just rip you apart. But I'm sure that won't happen. But I'm just letting you know.
Since I haven't met the girls, it would probably be very hard for me to take advantage of them.
Okay, good. I mean, once you do, I'm just saying, since we're stuck in this room for now, but just kind of going through orientation, with the welcoming training and everything, and so.
Is this
But yeah.
Are you guys talking
Very
out loud?
welcoming.
Like, or did you go to a corner? If you
I'm
didn't
just-
go to a corner, I'm
just
gonna like.
wherever she's at.
Okay, I'm
I was
gonna go
gonna-
right there and take notes while you're talking.
Mm.
Just be like, okay, he said he's gonna take her out back and all that stuff. Okay.
Are you look at her? Are you looking for work too?
No, I'm rich.
I mean, you could work for fun.
Is it fun work? Will I learn a lot?
Some of the
It's
girls
fun
say it's
work.
fun. Some of the girls say it's fun. But it's work. But it's like good, honest work,
I don't know. I
you
heard that
just,
rich
like-
people don't work.
I mean, everybody works.
Not
It's,
me.
you'd be making a lot of sad people happy, and so I think it's good,
I
honest
mean-
work. Caldo will take care of you, and the pay's okay. But yeah, think about it. I think you'd be popular. I don't know. People
Maybe
like
give me
weird
the
stuff.
details later.
People like
Right
weird
now-
stuff, and so.
Right now, this does not concern me.
All right,
You're
well,
very interesting.
We were
You're
just
the
talking.
weird
I
one.
don't. You came here. You came here. You seemed interested. Am I wrong, Caldev? She seems too interested, no?
She's interested in a lot of things.
Yeah.
She's right, you know.
Mm,
But I don't have much need for physical goods and I still work.
I'm still like, of all this group, inside, Kiki's still the one that looks the weirdest to me. It just weirds me out the most.
Well, on
He's
that
rich,
note,
that's why.
And then it's because
Yeah.
she's Chinese.
rich, very, very wealthy
She's
people
from the
are
China.
very
This
weird.
random person from the China is weirder to me than a furbog and,
From the China.
and the
Everything
Ganassi.
is. And it's not just the China, it's like the rich China. So,
That's like more
so are
foreign
we-
to me than any of the foreign worlds that come through any dimension.
I get that a lot, but
Okay, cool.
my
cool.
friends in New York City think it's quite charming. So
I know a lot of friends that would think you're quite charming too. And so yeah,
that's a good thing.
yeah, it's a very good thing. Just here, take my business card.
I love business
Apparently you can get in
cards.
touch through me.
I love business cards, and then I
Yeah,
take Caldov's bag and I put the business card in there. I love it. Nice. So are we going to Mexico?
So have you
Or-
guys figured it out yet, Doctor,
I've never been to Mexico. I would love
Mr.
to
Private?
go.
I
Eye,
wanna-
Have you guys figured it out?
Can we get a map of where
What's the
Coolidge's
holdup?
study is?
Why are we still here?
Let's go to this Jalisco.
Just
I hear
wanting
there's
to
really
make
good
sure we
tequila.
have everything that we need.
I'm waiting
before
for
we go.
Kiki's wine to go spraying all over the place. It's like
Oh, no way, man.
Bolster.
No way, man. Not
It's
even
getting
close.
wild. Make it try
Just
to reach
she
the
needs
top.
a magical item that just always has wine.
Yes. I'll just like always bring out a glass and then just have wine in there, and it'll be like the best wine.
You gotta get one,
Where did you
when
pull
set it
that
on the
out from?
coaster, it fills
What?
from the bottom, so it's never empty. Every time you set it, it just refills.
It's just a decanter of fucking wine.
This is from the year 1890.
Well, I hate
That
to
would
bring
be
this
very
up,
illegal.
but
Very
you know, you
illegal.
are aware that there's a war going on. Getting into Mexico isn't exactly easy to do right now.
Well,
Then it's an adventure, is it not?
based on the fact of
Isn't this the
where
Unity
you
who
found
has travel papers?
this sad gentleman here, and I point
have
to
a
the
German
goblin on
here.
the table, and based on the fact that it appears he traveled through a tunnel, that may be our way in.
We need to find that tunnel.
Yes,
Thinking
I
about
have
finding
a
the
feeling that may be the best option.
Where did she find
Um,
him?
Didn't they find him near Thinville? Was
Ye-
that where it was?
Yes, Thinville. 2 miles beyond the American border, and 2 miles behind the front lines of the American border.
I
Very
want to
cool.
ask random, and I go to him. I say, "Well, in your line of work, you might know some people. You have any connections that might help us secure some, maybe safer than just bringing it passage?"
I had a Fraulein Einsteins Vier Fünf here, and I point to the German lady. Reach out to some of my contacts. We'll see what she has. If they let us go and we head over, then we'll be able to. I'll be able to reach out with some of my
Question
boys.
for the DM. Could I ask? Would my extreme satellites be able to see where in Mexico these tunnels
Mhm.
are?
Is there satellite? Oh, like alien satellite.
Fortunately, standard operating procedure is
SOP.
protocol non-intrusion. So your network is limited to disseminating information that you gather both through your ocular enhancement.
Nice.
Yeah, your
Okay, so this
ocular
has to be right in front
enhancement.
of me.
Other people's written material, historical written material. I mean, you've been having the network download all of the physical materials and historical materials of the Earth for the better part of 10 years since you've got here. That disseminated information is how your network builds plausible possibilities as well as confirming factual statements. Your technology doesn't really go beyond that because you're not technically allowed to do that.
Okay. It can only basically cipher what's in front of my eye.
Or information that's already consumed over the last 10 years.
Okay.
Can I make an amendment, DM?
A retcon or an amendment?
So Tijuana is really far. Can I have Carlos and Francisco be from Juarez, Ciudad Juarez?
Yeah, that's fine. Or Nogales. You can pick either one of those. That would work.
Yeah, whatever would be closer, like
Well,
and more
and
reasonable.
I would say Ciudad Juarez would be more in alignment with the fact that they smuggle in and out of El Paso.
Yeah.
So I'm okay
So
with that.
Nogales would be better, or Juarez is good.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
I'm gonna ask ma'am wherever I'm gonna walk up to wherever she is. I lost count of where she was standing.
Yes.
And ask her.
What can I do for you?
I know I asked you before, but now that more has been revealed, who issues the Unity travel papers?
We do, my dear.
You or
Well,
who?
not me personally, but the organization known as the Unity. We have interior bookkeepers and individuals who issue these documents for the purpose of, well, we don't really have a connection with any real government officials. They are safe passage documents amongst agents, safe houses, drop points, ability to acquire equipment, material, and currency, to execute plans and operate out in the field. It's not much more than that. Why do you ask these questions?
Say that you were to issue a passport.
Yes.
It is a passport for traveling that would be presented to government officials as traveling between countries, correct?
This is notable, yes.
And because it is from Unity, I'm assuming there are enchantments to keep them from falling into the wrong hand.
Oh, very much so.
But earlier you said you didn't know about them disappearing.
Well, that
I'm
is...
talking perhaps of Thomas Sheehan.
Oh. I don't know that name. Why do you bring this up? Our preventative measures for our passports are the pages become blank.
Insight check.
Go ahead.
Can I look at the Thomas or Einstein character as well? Because his other guy, that guy's name was Thomas as well, right?
Correct.
Can I check
26.
and there's a reaction?
Anybody can make an insight check if you want to.
I will.
Okay.
I made one. It's a 26.
The pages.
Jeez.
Wow, that's really
18.
high.
18.
My medicine and my insight are my two greatest features.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Agent 1149 doesn't skip a beat. She just,
Pages going blank.
yes, they go blank.
Is different than the entire passport itself vanishing.
Yes, that would be different, indeed.
And you don't do vanishing.
No, we don't do that. It's advanced magics that we just don't deal with. We don't care if the books fall in the wrong hands. We just make the content disappear. Much more simpler.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get a copy, passports?
Oh, these will be issued to you, yes.
Aldo,
I-
didn't you say that you had one earlier that just disappeared out of your hands?
I did. I was on my way into the cafe, and I had a passport in the name of Thomas Sheehan.
Ooh.
You
He was the
watch-
man whose image I used earlier.
You watch as the other Thomas looks at you and goes, "Why would you have a passport of me?
Yeah, that's
Doesn't
what I
make
say.
any sense."
But he didn't look like that in his passport picture.
No, he didn't.
Where did you get
Someone-
this
I
passport?
happened upon this passport a few evenings ago, and as I entered into the cafe, it vanished.
You watch as
But
Thomas
the picture
pulls
was
out.
not you.
You watch as Thomas pulls out a small red and blue book, hands it over to you, and it says Thomas Sheehan on it, and has the exact likeness and details of the individual standing in front of you. You turn it to then see the likeness of Mr. Einstein, his details, and everything about that. And then as you turn through it, there's maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 stamped locations of many different countries and regions that he's been in. Are you?
That's
What's
how-
the most surprising one?
Is there one from Peru?
Yeah, there's one in there from Peru.
When is it the Peru one dated?
1923.
Years?
It's 1927 now.
But the passport is not issued from Peru. He is a visitor to Peru.
Well, it's not a government
He was a
passport.
visitor at one
It's a
point.
unity passport. It's designed to keep track of their agents and to allow them to communicate with other agents in the field. And you also see corresponding numbers like 964 and 1233 and 1922 and 3211. And he begins to describe that these are matching, these are corresponding agents that he had met with. He's like, I'm interested in this.
I
Are
hate
you
to
saying
tell
that
you,
somebody out?
Mr. Thomas, but the passport I found was not this one, but it was of your name, saying a
Interesting.
Miami resident, and had various series of stamps. But the last stamp said that Thomas Sheehan was from Peru, though a Miami resident.
I don't know. I mean, this sounds very interesting. It sounds like somebody is posing as me.
Can I do insight check?
Yeah.
Does the appearance that I wore earlier bear any recognition to you?
No, I did not. Doesn't look like me at all.
16.
That is who is using your name.
So weird.
So how do we track down this person? How did you get that passport? And can we find this person?
The passport fell into my hands when I was in San Diego.
How
I
does a
can show you
passport
the
fall
area
in-
where it.
How does a passport fall into one's hands, dear?
Hey, don't worry about that, Thomas. All right? You got the passport.
He's not,
was-
and for you, random, he's not skipping a beat. As far as you can tell, he's not lying.
Okay.
I was doing a performance, and this gentleman was in the audience, and the passport was, by the end, no longer on his person.
Oh, you misunderstand me, dear. I'm sorry. Where were you?
I was in San Diego on the corner of. I was outside of my school. I have no idea schools in San Diego. I don't know San Diego street names.
That's fine.
UCSD.
I was on the corner of Main and Rose.
We do have safe houses in San Diego. We do
But
have.
who would be using your name?
No one should know my name. And he kind of like looks, and he's being very contemplative. You watch as Riley comes over, and the two of them just exchange quick kind of words. Not privately, you just hear, Riley, please send to 1342 a confirmation of safe house on mission. Validate that the mission safe house is still intact and that he's to report to me immediately. And make sure that he also checks in on Agent 941 and to make sure that she is okay as well. So, I'll have to assume that something has been compromised. What has been compromised, I'm not entirely sure.
I
And
actually, sorry,
No, go ahead.
I would like to put in, if we're dealing with the people that we think we're dealing, such as the twisted eye,
Yes.
right? What if the twisted eye are using Unity passports as ways for their members to get through borders, even wartime borders? A Unity passport can get.
Well, as long
Correct.
as they confer with certain agents, which would mean either I have agents in the field that have been compromised, or I have agents in the field that aren't actually my agents anymore.
No. What I mean is, you could still use a Unity passport, just to get through. Nobody would question a Unity member.
Unfortunately, that's not quite how it works. There has to be a counter order with its use. In other words, we have specific agents stationed all along the border regions of most international communities. Our agents know to seek them out. Those passports are used to help them get in without being recognized. So, for that theory to work, but by the way, Calamex, I find it to be an interesting theory because it does kind of make sense as to why this particular goblin made its way through Thinville, as we do have agent contacts there. In fact, he came up on our radar, so to speak, that has not yet been invented, but I like the word, it's cool. He came about because he was supposed to countermand an order with one of our other agents. But yet, when this agent arrived at the location, he found this goblin hiding and sneaking about in a strange and peculiar way, and the agent in question never appeared.
I believe not
While they're
only is your
having this
agency compromised, but they know exactly how to get their agents through on multiple borders. You should check with all of your borders, not just the Mexican one.
Riley,
going to-
please go ahead and execute protocols 48-66. Let's just to be on the safe side. You watch as Riley quickly kind of leaves, and as he leaves, he gets to the door, pushes a panel, and out pops like a very old school dual rotary phone, and he gets on it and does a couple clicks with it, and then mutters into it, and then hangs it up, and it floats back into the wall, and he comes down and begins to go back to copying and scribing as he was before.
While that's going on, I'm going to create with prestidigitation an exact copy of the passport that I had found. And I'm going to compare it to the passport that Thomas has given me. Just while they're conversing about
the stamps don't match up. Their numbers seem more random than actual. The number of visits don't quite match up. The pictures are not the same. There's a quality in its production that looks very different than the one that Thomas Sheehan has offered up to you. Yours appears more to be like a forgery.
Right.
A very
Would I know
well-crafted
anybody who's good at forgery
forgery.
in that way?
Give me a history check.
Would have to be a
I'm
magical
gonna guide
forgery.
myself as well. Magical forgery.
Yeah, it would have to be
I
because
got
the
13.
passport itself disappeared, and it had numbers and stamps that were.
I only got a 13.
13. It's not a particular industry that Mr. Capone dabbles in, and not a particular group of criminals that you've aided before. that part of the network would be unfamiliar to you.
Jeez, that's a lot of cans. Holy crap. Take it easy, guys. Goodness
Sparkling
gracious.
water.
Hand Thomas back his passport.
Sure.
But I'm gonna hand the one that I've temporarily created to ma'am
Okay.
and say, this is what
Ah,
the one I found looked like. It won't last long, but this is a fairly exact copy.
she takes it
Of
and goes,
what?
I thank you very much. Riley, if you would copy this down quickly, please. You watch as Riley takes it. He walks over to a bookshelf, pulls out a hollowed out book, puts it in it, closes it. There's like a flare of light, and he opens it, brings out a physical copy of your illusion, and then takes the illusion copy back over to you.
Man, that's Xerox.
Like,
This is the Unity Council. They have lots of fingers and lots of pies.
This man has a Xerox machine.
Xerox.
in a book
Hmm.
that can be removed from the shelf. He has a Xerox machine that's smaller than any other Xerox machine we have today.
What if we're on the right track and that these people are trying to meet them? Right? Where you guys have to have people of interest, right? People that you keep eyes on, like us, right? But in a negative way.
Oh, counterintelligence is not specifically our specialty, but we have a branch that excels in it, yes.
Well, what
You mean
if,
like a most wanted list?
Well, not exactly, dear boy. It's a little bit more different than that.
I just wanted to be much different. I mean, like a list of potential people of scoopious nature. Does it make sense?
Oh, I can assure you, we have a list like that.
Well, what if one of those people, right? The best, like, you have to keep an eye on the people who could do these types of things.
Correct.
Right? Am I right?
You
FBI?
bring up good points.
Like, yeah, I'm thinking about like the beginnings of the FBI.
Yeah, but they didn't form yet. But
No, but there were still organizations like that.
right,
then.
that did something like that, but they haven't. It's not Federal Bureau. of
We
Investigation.
have
Exactly.
We do have a short list of suspects, but unfortunately, we can't quite make a connection to them in this region. Most of these suspects have never been involved in the Southwest before.
That doesn't mean that they didn't make it and then just give it to
Well,
those people, whoever gave it to them, right?
well, I mean, if one of our agents has been compromised and their passport failed to disseminate the information and cause the information to disappear, they would have some knowledge of this. But there's a reason why we use numerical values of description of our agents. If you don't know who they are, you're never going to know who they are.
Or what if you do know?
Unless an agent,
What? Yeah,
Descent?
unless one of your agents,
that would explain how they got such a close copy.
like what you said before, some
It's
agents,
possible.
some of these people in the hall are not good people. Like you said, it's just people of influence.
All of you guys hear a phone ring. Kind of goes off. It's very loud and metallic and mechanical in sound. You watch as Riley gets up, his goblin self kind of taking him over to where the panel is. The panel pops up. He answers it, sets it back on the receiver, pushes it back into the panel, comes racing over to Thomas, whispers something into Thomas's ear. Oh, and now that is interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I suspect we have a location to start with. It would appear that our safe house in Thinville has been compromised. Both agents are missing, They have not countermanded their orders or checked in with the other 2 agents that they are responsible for checking in with. It's been 24 hours.
Very quick question. Is there a reason why it's called Thinville? Are people extremely thin there? Are the animals thin?
Oh, I don't know. It's a random name that I'm sure some geographer picked.
Okay.
Do we have
I'm
any-
You don't
still
know how
trying to figure out. Still trying to figure out how places are
Like a
named.
legend.
So
Do we have any descriptions of these agents or their descendants that might be beneficial in
Well, I would have to say that you're more of a special operative. Field agents do not have descendants.
do we get
Well,
descriptions of these field agents that have gone missing?
Yes, I can have that worked up for you momentarily.
I have a question. Why are we different than field agents? If we're kind of just got here, type of thing. I feel like hierarchy should say that people who've been here longer should.
Well,
That would be seniority.
yes,
well,
humans are very
the
hierarchical.
belief that you've just gotten here is irrelevant to the amount of time that we've watched every single one of you. During this time of watching you, we've learned just about everything we think we need to know about you. You all have that special kind of edge about your lives. You all are very adept at surviving. You're quick-witted. You have a handle on your environment and your surroundings that are far more layered than what other people are capable of. Your minds are not concluded or closed off to the greater world around you. A good example would be things that you've seen or that you thought you've seen may have been things you actually saw. Ideas that you've had or things that you've thought about or things that you were inspired to do are things that were influenced on you from the greater outsides of the world. Creativity is the best sign of intelligence that we can possibly have. Now, that's not saying that our agents aren't creative, but they're more like, you are the toolbox, they are the hammer. If that makes a little bit more sense.
What you're saying is we'll eventually have access to these agents as hammers.
Eventually, yes.
This feels like some sort of TV show.
What's a TV show, man?
You haven't heard of the things they're doing in Hollywood? Like the screens that they just capture.
Oh,
and
you
they're
mean a
making...
movie?
A moving
Yes,
picture?
those films come out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
silent films.
films.
Have
Dude,
you
I love
watched?
moving
San
pictures.
Diego, you've seen.
Have you watched?
Balloon.
Have you watched the latest with the young man? He's quite exceptional. Charlie Chaplin. Very good actor.
That guy's hilarious. He's the best. Is he around this early?
I joined the Actors Guild.
Le Voyage dans la
Granted, I
Lune
joined the
came out
Actors
in
Guild in New York.
1902.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the first movie ever. It's a French movie called Trip to the Moon, and that was done in 1902.
I love that movie.
I just realized
Le
how
I don't like
Voyage
the
dans la
French.
Lune.
The French
Just
don't
realized-
produce much, but that film, whew,
The rich people here love the French.
they would. They
Well,
totally
a lot
would.
of a lot of great fabrics and. I'm wearing head French.
just realized how old timey of a word movie is.
It's a movie, eh?
No, let's go see one
Is
of
it
them
moved?
movie things, them
A
moving
movie, eh?
pictures.
Yeah,
Movie
it's a
pictures.
motion picture currently. It's not a movie yet.
True.
That's true.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's like the slang word though. It's a
That's like
movie
now,
because
yeah.
it moves.
Yes,
Movie.
I have seen
Talking.
many motion pictures with my
Fucking
friends
movie.
back in New York. In the mall.
So it sounds like
Dark.
we know where we're going next.
Not that
Well,
entertaining.
I am compelled to believe that something is going on down there.
Oh, what are we
So-
waiting for? Let's go.
Waiting for our
I-
passport.
Well, first of all, we have
point.
equipment to issue all of you. Currently, we've been retrofitting Random Ward's truck with some of our more advanced features that we feel will benefit you out in the field. There's certain protocols, notifications to be made. For now, I think it's best that we take a rest and get started in the morning, fresh and ready to go. I am currently having the dining room meals being prepared for all of you. You each will have your own rooms afforded to each of you as well. You have access to the grounds. I would ask you to keep to those common areas that you are allowed to go to. Please, if you find a door that says no entry, please abide by it. No entry.
May I
Okay.
ask one thing?
You may ask many things if you choose.
Those books on augmentation, done by Mr. Edison.
Yes.
Can I read those?
Oh, all those copies are in our master library if you wish to
So,
go and...
I need something on. You guys seem to have a more grasp on the theoretical properties of magic and properties of dilation of time and the astrology of the stars. Does that make sense?
Well, if you would prefer to take your meal in the library, I can have Riley take you to the library this evening.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
I too would like to go to the library.
Fair enough. Shall we all partake of our evening meal there? I mean, not me myself, but all of you. I do have
Why
preparations
not?
to
You should
make.
join us.
I have preparations that need to be made, and
I
unfortunately,
would like to see some of your work of your counterpart. He's a astonishing man of this world and time.
oh, I live inside
So-
his head, dear boy. I understand who he is. I can assure you. During my time, I was compared to the likeness of him during my time, although his name was not yet known. Some have even referred to me as the very first blacksmith ever.
Ooh. That's cool.
Not really.
That's who he is. I knew the name from somewhere. That's cool.
Is it
So-
Thomas Jerry?
Since that first
No.
session, I've known he was gonna come back.
Ooh.
So, for those of you that wish to go to the library, please follow Riley. He will take you there. For those of you who wish to check into your rooms and have your meal in the dining room, please go with 1149. She will take you to those locations as well. I will be going to the laboratory and finishing up the works on Mr. Ward's truck, as well as getting your passports and dossiers together for your first trip into Thinville. Contacts, contact names, contact numbers. If you see a name in your dossier, that is considered a contact, not an agent. Agents will always be numbers. If numbers are associated with someone you can get in contact with, there'll be reference of a number that will appear in your dossier. If there are names, traditional names in the dossier as friendlies or suspicious individuals, it will be read so within the dossiers. The dossiers themselves will give you all the basic and most pertinent information we have, and in this case, specifically related to our activities and other items going on within Thinville.
How many people are currently on this campus, on this site?
Oh, it depends on the season, dear.
Currently.
Currently, right now, roughly 2,000 to 3,000, give or take. You know, the
Ooh.
number of missions that are going on.
A lot of people.
We are the headquarters. We are the main hub of activity for all national and international requirements.
There are others like me, and
Oh, I can assure you, Calavex, There's no one quite like you anywhere that I've ever seen.
In my head, I'm beginning to wonder: are they all aliens as well?
Well, I am human with dragon.
I didn't
features.
say that out loud, but in my head, I'm like, what is it? What does he mean? Like me? Like
Kiki's
There's
like,
your
I
person
wonder
response.
how he hides his
They all
antenna
from
and
other
his
planets.
marsupial tail.
I would love to get to the library because I assume everything I read, Ragnar Lothbrok would read too. So I want him to get caught up on time period.
Fair enough.
Oh.
I'm surprised the psychopath in my head hasn't said anything.
I've been rolling really shitty for you guys, except for McAllen. He's
Well, Sherlock
Twice in a
Holmes gets
row.
a boost.
Oh, no.
Sherlock
I-
Holmes is
everything.
also very
That's-
interested in mysteries, and there's a lot of mysterious things going on. So I feel like he would naturally want to chime in more.
Oh, Sherlock, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
his strong point.
Most of the
Okay.
dramas will
Yep.
probably start chiming in once I start reading and going through research. That's when
Yeah.
he's gonna start talking to me and be like, "Shut up, I'm reading."
Yeah. If my
Yeah,
boy
he's-
talks,
he's
I'd
the
be
one reading.
shocked. Be shocked if my boy talks.
yeah. You
I'm
just
surprised he
hear
hasn't had like a
all-
running
Unless I'm
commentary in
taking
the
a
back
dump.
of your mind.
random. All you ever hear is like someone taking a shit.
Yeah.
That's why he invented
Or
the
get
toilet,
like a
because he
weird
shits
image
too
of
much.
his wife taking
It's pretty
one.
comforting.
Maybe that's when Random's gonna get all his best ideas when he's taking his shit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I imagine like he'll come in when I'm pooping.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
Random's
chime
gonna be
in.
like, "I'll be right back. I need to take a shit." And be like,
Yeah.
"Guys, I got it."
I feel like Ragnar's probably gonna be most vocal, like when we're about to fight, and he's like, "Yes, battle."
I would
For
not
now,
be
he's just-
surprised. I would
He's
not
just
be surprised.
confused.
It's either that or when you talk strategy, he's gonna be like, "You
Yeah.
should do this, you psychopath."
So while we're
Quit
eating,
going
I actually
around
had
them.
a
Go
few,
right at them.
few questions for Calamex.
Alamex has a bunch of books around him as he's eating and just looks at you.
Yeah. So I went into the library with him
Okay,
and I'm eating
so
there, and I
before
look
we get
super
there, so
uncomfortable.
who's all going to the library?
Surprisingly, I do,
Kiki.
and as I
Kiki, Random, and Calamex are going to the library.
Alden doesn't want to go.
Caldev, where are you going?
I'm going to the dining hall because I'm going to watch all the people, see
Okay.
who
Yeah.
shows up for
Oh,
dinner, what
okay.
they do, how they interact.
People
as you
watch.
go
Fair
off,
enough.
I say, take care of yourself and let me know if you need anything.
McAllen, what are you doing with your time?
I'm also going to the dining hall.
Okay, so Caldev and McAllen are going to the dining hall. As all of you leave the projection room, the door closes behind you. Riley takes Random, Kiki, and Calamex to the master library. This location takes a few minutes to get to. In fact, at one point, you get to a very large hallway. A small electric style vehicle is sitting there waiting. It's got a weird kind of orb on the back of it that every now and then pulses with arcane light. And there's kind of a low thrumming noise that kind of jets down into the base of the vehicle. Riley gets in and then pulls out 3 or 4 wooden blocks to put in the seat. He ties a large wooden block to his foot so that he can drive it. The 3 of you are in the back seat and the passenger seat, and this kind of like odd vehicle rolls down this very wide hallway for about 5 minutes, and then he turns and
Down the
parks. And as he turns and parks, there's a series of steel doors that are slightly open. And Riley says, "Yeah, just right in there. Go on in. I'll have your food sent to you." As the
There are
third,
librarians or
oh,
anyone to help me
there are people.
cycle through?
There are things there to help you. Yes, just be
Because the
patient.
Dewey Decimal System isn't made yet.
So, as the 3 of you get out of, for all intents and purposes, a magical electrical golf cart, you walk over to the steel doors where they're open. You step in. It's a vast room. It's huge. It's got 4 levels to it. Each level is maybe 10,000 square feet. And it's done in like veranda-like evolution so that You could walk up to one and circle the entire level, and it's all books. And then the next, all books. The next, all books. The next, all books. As you sit there and watch, translucent creatures flit to and fro, pulling books and delivering them down to tables of individuals seated at these tables, and these books are then left behind. It's a busy hive of activity as everybody here, you presume, are field agents. They are all dressed in black. Black shirts,
And
black
then black.
coats, black pants. If they're wearing a
Straight
hat,
up.
it's black. It's that they're either field agents or possibly agents in training. The three of you looking at the available spaces, there's at least one table that's currently completely unoccupied. And sitting, or not even sitting, floating next to the table is a very translucent like apparition.
Cool.
I
I didn't know that. Is this
Look-
strange to you guys?
look at it and go, librarian.
Doesn't do anything.
I would need 5 books. The augmentations written by Thomas Edison. That series. Does it understand?
It flits off.
Cool. That's the first 3, I think. How many books were those? 3 or 5?
There were 5, but one was missing.
Okay, so I'm going to read all 5.
Correct.
And then I'm going to go into the theory of application of timey-wimey magic.
Okay. So a few minutes go by. The invisible servant floats back down next to the table, sets the 5-volume set directly on the table.
I look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
It just sits there hovering.
I also need book on the theoretical knowledge of magic and time and space.
Flits off.
This thing's awesome.
Kiki
Yeah.
and Random, you're there as well. Anything you'd like to do with your time?
So first I would like to ask Agnar, I would like to tell him we're in a different country, many decades ago. I'm going to get some history books for you about this country, about the United States, pledge
He's gonna
allegiance
love
to the
reading
flag,
about it.
all that.
Okay.
I'm gonna make him read that, and I also would like human behavioral books.
Like psychology books, anthropology books, and such.
Yeah, and like human anatomy
Okay.
and psychology, like how their brain works and how the body works. Yes.
Okay. Random, anything you'd like to research or do
Are
at this point?
there? Sorry if you already mentioned this, but are there any like books lying around,
No, this
like
place is
magazines or anything?
This place is incredibly organized and very well kept. It seems that the invisible servants are the only ones allowed to take books off the shelves, but you can see wherever there's a field agent near a bookshelf, there's an invisible servant nearby ready to cater to their question.
I go turn over and I say, I'll get a Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
And then I just take a seat, and then I kind of look over at Kiki, and then
Hi.
when it looks like she's looking at other stuff, like focusing on books, I lean into the doc, and I say,
I'm starting to wade through this book.
did you really cure syphilis for your boss?
Why do you ask?
I have a few employees that might appreciate such a tincture.
Mhm.
Do you think you could not me, I'm good. But
Inside him?
Yeah, go for it.
To guide myself because yeah.
I'm imagining you have like a magical focus in your pocket or like around your neck that you kind of twirl to do the guidance.
His guidance is actually his. He has a pair of reading glasses
Gotcha.
that any time the guidance goes off, the metal sheen would glow.
Gotcha.
And that's only a 16.
I mean,
I'm sorry, a 15.
you get
I
the,
rolled a nat 19 for whatever my roll is.
Oh, that's
You-
pretty good.
you get the feeling that Random comes by his quirky nature and a slight case of bipolar and maybe a little bit of dual personality and a little schizophrenia mixed in with it. But this is not all that uncommon for many people that have come back from the war in Europe. These kind of cases are frequent.
He has
But you get the
chronic
feeling
symptoms of PTSD.
yeah, you get the feeling that he comes by it naturally. There's no obvious signs that his nervous system is under the rot and decay of syphilis.
I have a few
Okay.
people. That
I'll give
might
you the same
appreciate
price
it.
I gave to my boss when that
Mhm.
I treat. It's $1,000 per tincture.
$1,000. That's $19-20.
I found a cure for syphilis, but
Okay, so that's gonna be $13, $13,000
no,
per.
it's $1,000. I'm telling
No,
you.
no, but in today's money, that's gonna be
Yeah, it's
$13,500.
$13,000.
Man, what are you, a pharmacy or something? All right.
I'm a scientist.
What are you, Johnson and Johnson?
Yeah. Holy crap,
Are you
dude.
Merc?
Martin Scarelli here, dude. Trying to get rich. All right.
I have to
Take notes
fund
on
my
their
research.
conversation.
I say I'll think about it, Doc. Thank you for that, though. It's good to know.
Mhm.
Oh, Vandrina, why'd you out me? That's inappropriate. You shouldn't be outing people like that.
You after that talk, I like kind of I'm like quiet for a few more seconds, and I say so Doc, how's your boss doing? Is he doing okay?
Why do you keep asking me about a person who's not here?
I was just curious. He's an influential figure, you know. He's
Yeah,
like
he
a
is.
hero.
I wouldn't call him a hero in any sense of the word.
He's a hero. He's a hero to me, right?
You have
He's
a
like-
very jaded view of the world if that man is your hero.
I mean, you said it right. 34% of the criminal underworld. That's not bad. That's pretty decent. That's
I'm gonna write
34%
They
less
are
chaos.
criminals in my journal.
That's a 34% less chaos. It's beautiful. And he brought it all together.
It's still chaos. It doesn't. There's no functionality to what they do.
Have you been busy? Has he been keeping you busy?
I have a job, and I also do research. Currently, I am no longer in the employ of Mr. Capone. I am under my own employ. Currently, I'm employed by this Unity. They paid me to render services. So now I am
Does this
under the
mean-
employ of the Unity.
Is
Does
this
this
common
mean we're
knowledge?
coworkers?
No,
Like Calamex is no longer married to Al Capone?
he's not my boss. He doesn't. They bought me from him.
You bought yourself from him?
The Unity, this organization
Oh,
that we are both working for, has bought my services from Mr. Capone. Does that make sense?
that makes sense. So
So now they will be the primary funders of my research as long as I work for them. They gave
Good,
me a lump sum settlement up front to fund my research.
that's good. I'm glad you're able to get out of there.
Yes, I get to
Yeah.
work on other criminals now.
That's good. That's good. So, do you know who's been bothering Capone? Some,
Many people have been
thorns on
bothering
his
Mr.
sides.
There's been many people doing this.
Any big names?
Why are you asking me?
I'm just curious. This is just small talk. We're just talking here, Doc.
It's kind of nosy, huh?
You seem to be asking very intricate questions, and I have this thing called bullet patient confidentiality.
I'm gonna whisper to random and say, I don't know if you're not from around here, but I was told that if you're gonna ask a lot of questions, make sure you develop a relationship first. Just looking out for you.
Didn't the doctor cure us? Didn't he heal us? What's a more intimate relationship than that?
It was his duty. He's a doctor.
Also been paid to do that.
She said duty.
Yeah. I'm like, not right now,
That's
Thomas.
the part.
Damn it, not right now, Thomas. Thomas, I'm trying to talk right now, Thomas. All right.
That's the part where
And
we start talking.
maybe
Thomas, knock
become
it
his
off.
friend, and then ask these questions.
Hmm.
You're
So are
being
you-
what is that called? Someone told me I was off-putting. I think that's what you're being right now.
That was rude. Who told you
Stop
that?
eating pudding.
Stop
Well, I
eating
was
pudding.
asking someone about all these things, and she told me you're being off-putting. So I was like,
As they're
Oh,
talking, I
no.
just immediately just start opening the book. and
Yeah.
start going through the pages.
You start reading through the books at this point.
I
Calga,
just sensed like,
Just letting you know, DM, I took the keen mind feat
okay,
just for your reference from now
fair enough.
on, instead of taking the other feat that I thought I was going to take. Fuck that.
And as this
Oh,
conversation is going on, a couple things are going to happen. Kiki, the network voice pops into your head momentarily. Mistress, I've never been in a library such as this before. Shall I begin downloading?
yes,
Okay.
all of it.
It will take approximately 282 days, Mistress.
Yeesh.
Oh, dear Lord.
Sheesh.
Would you like us
Start with the
to?
most relevant?
Would you like us to start with prioritization?
Yes, please.
Please, subject matter
see.
to begin with.
Well, I'm trying to think what would be the best information to take back to our planet. So I think everything on humans and then everything on the other races that are here, maybe like elves and stuff like that.
This
All of
has
that.
narrowed it down to 282,000 subject titles. We can have this complete
dear
in
Lord.
198 days.
Yeesh.
Oh my goodness.
This is great.
Ugh.
Is she saying this all aloud?
No, I'm not.
She has to
Okay.
tell me that. Otherwise, I assume it's internal.
Yeah, after talking to Ragnar and that, I'm like, okay, I need to keep this inside. It's gonna be too much. Let's narrow it down to the most influential top 100, top 500,
Top 500.
ones that
what,
made the
please?
most progress.
We are discussing subject matter or topical matter.
Ugh, I don't even know.
I have managed to sort all titles and subject matter into 1,294 focuses. Each one of those focuses has anywhere from 200 to 300 potential topical matters of subject historical reference. And you get the feeling that the network is slowly getting overwhelmed by the vast amount of information that might be here.
Download the encyclopedias.
Go for most recent.
Yeah, most recent would be good.
The network would advise you, Mistress, that you are currently in the southwest portion of the United States. It would take approximately 22 hours for us to upload all pertinent information related to the beginnings, origins, and the current political orientation of the southwestern United States from the year 1700 to the year 1927. This would take less than 24 hours to accomplish.
Let's start from forget the 1970s. We'll start from the last 3 decades and put a focus on the Mexico-United States border.
This will allow us to conclude in the next 2 to 3 hours. We will return to you
Ooh,
when we have
perfect.
this information disseminated and organized for you. So the three of you are now in the library, either snacking on what Riley has brought for food. Random,
I don't eat.
Random, you are reading your book. Kiki, you are reading your book in hopes that Ragnar's personality is absorbing common information about people and anthropology and the understanding of psychology.
Also, I'll pick the stuff about all the wars too,
Okay.
so he'll be more interested.
And Calamex,
Can
Calamex,
Oh,
you're
sorry.
currently absorbing and reading information related to the 5-volume set of Edison's augmentation understandings, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So my whole
And then-
purpose of being in here is to bother Calamex.
Fair enough. I think it's
I'm
working.
not here to read. I'm not here to read. I don't care about Phantom of the Opera. That's the only book I heard of. I got it. I'm just here to ask.
It's
Calamex
got big
questions.
words.
As I realize that's what he's here to do, I go, okay, that's fine. And I open up my bag and I go and grab these large snow Eskimo earmuffs and I put them on.
You
Gotta be
can
smoking in the
hear.
You
You can absolutely hear
reading.
nothing. All the agents currently studying are looking over at random with kind of like very daggers in their eyes kind of looks. But there's no specific sign that says no smoking. This is a different time. They seem to be more
100%
distracted by
smoking.
random's constant nattering and chattering more than anything else.
Every time he tries to smoke, like he comes too close to me with the cigarette, I put it out.
So
I'm sitting. I
Caldo,
don't know. I'm not moving. I'm just sitting.
so
Yeah, every
Caldo,
time you turn one on, I just go.
Oh.
Caldo and
Would you
McAllen.
know? Would
You
you know about like Colosimo and Frankie?
I have
Caldo,
no idea what you're saying. I have the
Tutorial.
earmuffs on.
Caldove and McAllen, you make it to the dining room. This is a much smaller space. There's maybe half a dozen tables, almost like cafeteria style buffet setup where you go and kind of serve yourself. And there are kind of individuals, cooks and preparers. And, not everything can be holistically brought into existence without the common practice of cooks, dishwashers. There are staff that have their prescribed work that needs to be done. Most of the tables appear to be empty. Occasionally people come in dressed in very non-agent attire from time to time. The two that catch both your attention is that there are two individuals sitting at a particular table having a meal. One individual looks very out of place. Long black curly hair, a long black curly beard, wearing a giant, massive sea coat, and keeps arguing with the other person. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm telling you right now, I know how the sea works, and that's not how it fucking works. I am only telling you that my great-grandfather, Mr. Cousteau, he knows more about it than you do. So, shut up. Other than that, the occasional agent comes in, the occasional staff worker comes in. This seems to be just like a common area to come and grab a meal, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. The two of you go ahead and give me perception checks, please.
Let's see. 16.
16.
14.
14. You get the feeling that this particular location is exactly as it's described. The people that are coming and going are a mixed lot of both field agents, perhaps staff, researchers, And you do see the occasional individual that kind of matches your own understanding of what it means to be a descendant. And there's a couple that come and go. But other than that, this feels like a very normal kind of cafeteria-like environment. Bless you.
Yeah. Gonna go grab a tray, go get some food,
Okay.
and I'm gonna ask the cooks there. Hey, so is this your usual traffic, or you typically see more people?
It's a Monday.
Fair enough.
I mean, the busier days are always Fridays, but the Monday crowd gets a little bit, light.
Any interesting characters you see around?
Any more interesting characters than Mr. Cousteau and Blackbeard sitting at a table? Couldn't tell you that.
Fair assessment. And I'll take my food and find a table that's
Okay.
open.
Caldev, what are you doing?
I'll go ahead and grab some sort of soup, something, a little more water. I'm gonna go stand kind of in a corner, fairly not being weird about it, just standing instead of sitting. Watching the people that come in, kind of watching what food they pick, how they pick, if they sit, stay, just general people watching.
Go ahead and, for this, go ahead and give me investigation, because you're being much more purposeful, much more specific in what you're trying to accomplish.
5.
Yeah. I mean,
I finally got my soup. I'm distracted.
Yeah. I mean, and it's good. I mean, the food is actually good. I mean, McAllen is busy finishing off his tray over at the table that he's sitting at, kind of casually watching people as they come and go. I will say this.
If anyone comes and sits by themselves, I'm going to do like shape water on any liquids or foods that they have and make it do funny things.
Okay. I'll say at some point an agent does sit by themselves. She begins to pour from a pitcher some water as it curls up, floats in front of her, and comes back into the pitcher as she's pouring it. She's like, all right, who's doing that? I'm very thirsty. Please stop.
I'll take a small section of water and put it in the cup while it's still doing it. I'll have like a small amount like siphon off to fill her cup as the rest keeps doing its spiral.
This world
Back
used
into
to
the
be
pitcher.
so much more predictable. Please, I just want to have my meal.
Get water in her cup, and then when she sets the pitcher back down, kind of make a slow display like one of those fountains that kind of, as it all goes back into the pitcher. Except for what she poured in her cup.
Give me a sleight of hand check. That's a lot of activity.
Mm-hmm. But shape water is my inherent ability.
Mm-hmm.
So do I get advantage?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
17, 19.
You do a good job of mastering the effect.
And there's not a lot of people in there. I don't think she's gonna not find out who's
Right.
doing
As
it.
you conclude it, she kind of looks over her shoulder at you with one eyebrow raised. She's dressed all in black shirt, black pants, black jacket. Her hair is very short and cropped, pulled also into like a strange kind of bun behind her hair, behind her head. She just kind of just gives you a half smile and shakes her head and goes back to eating her meal.
Yeah, I'll just kind of nonchalantly and then keep people watching.
Fair enough. You, McAllen, finish your meals, finish your time there. Nothing peculiar comes through at any given time. Just a steady flow of people coming and going. Back to the library, the three of you. Really quick, Calamex, give me an intelligence check for starters.
Can I guide myself at all?
For a check, I'm not sure.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. You just kind of pinch your glasses.
Plus 3 plus that's a 20.
20.
6 plus 14. Yeah.
Ooh.
A couple things stick out to you as you're reading through these volumes. Volume 1, compared to the later volumes of 4 and 5, you could already tell that the information that Edison is disseminating is becoming much more rambling and a little bit more confused. This is a clear case of possible dementia, as his cohesive writing gets a little bit more tangent, it gets a little bit fractured. He's struggling to hold the subject matter together by the 5th volume. Whatever his age and whatever his writing style in the 1st volume, it's completely different than the last volume. I mean, he's in his 80s at this point, late 70s, early 80s. This is not too uncommon. But the main focus of his works is the augmentation of the nervous system, the muscular system, the ability to create electrical impulses that can pass through advanced copper wiring that he's been working on. He's even got a small diagram on a wire or a filament wire that he's been working on made of glass. He calls it a optical glass thread. There are many different references to amazing advancements. Even though his research gets more fractured and jumbled by the 5th volume, it's clear that he's making huge leaps of understanding through his writings. By the time he's in his 5th volume, he is coming up with solutions that have absolutely no common theme for you. Like, it's so outside of your own imagination, it's difficult to understand what he's trying to focus on. You know, the idea of making wire as thin as a human hair, the idea of replacing the human spine with augmented, infused magical components. And you get the feeling by the end of consuming the final amount of information in Volume 5, he is essentially trying to come up with a way to build a full body construct. It would seem the only thing he doesn't know how to do is to move the natural organics of the mind fused with the containment of what he calls the soul within the non-organic construct that he's attempting to do. For all intents and purposes, he's dabbling in a very advanced form of Frankenstein kind of creativity.
So he's basically trying to put a soul in a robot.
And he
Mortal
often refers,
alchemist.
and there's a lot of writing notes and references, and you get the feeling it might be himself as well.
He's trying to put himself into a robot. That's insane. He's trying to make himself a warforged.
Immortality. Fonts.
And he even references Mechanicus. He references a lot of otherworldly information that he never had access before as being very insightful, very inspirational. And it's almost as if whatever he was before the transcendent portal was opened and what he's consumed over the last 10 years, he has become something completely different. His introspects and his insights are footmarked throughout the academia culture at this point, especially the engineering culture.
That's insightful and interesting. Would you say, now that I've read through all 5 and I have a full understanding of what he's been doing, that I have a better understanding of augmentation in general?
Give me a medicine check.
Ooh.
Kiki, as you're sitting there reading and reading and reading, you suddenly hear Rothgar's fucking rolled a 19 for you. You suddenly hear
Hey.
Rothgar's voice in your head. Why is every picture of a Viking got helmet and horns? What is this stupid nonsense? We never fucking wore horns. We didn't
Really?
even
Well-
drink. We didn't even drink from horns. We drank from bowls. Why?
Oh,
These cups are ridiculous. No one in their right mind would drink from cups like these. How do you drink from a horn's
you know
cup?
what?
A horn of a sheep.
You know what? Humans are inaccurate in their recording.
I
of
am a
history, I'm
human. Why do
sorry.
you keep talking to me like I'm not a human?
You are, but I'm not.
Yeah, but you
Oh.
talk to me like I'm not.
Yeah, well, your people then screwed up on your own history.
Well, I don't know. I'm
So
not.
blame them,
I'm not.
not me.
I'm not from the Sweden.
I'm not from the Sweden either, but people recorded Viking history like so.
Ah.
With the helmets and the horns. And I'm sorry, but I'm glad to know that it's not accurate. I'm gonna write that in my notes.
I got a 27 for medicine.
27 for medicine. His writings are both strangely structured and organized in such a way that
Natural ones. I've been rolling with you.
you get the feeling that there's more at work here than just him. No one, you're like, your mind is like, I don't care how smart you think you are. The amount of writing and dissemination of information that he's done in this 5-volume set feels beyond any one person. This is just too much, too fast.
Is there any of the agents around?
Well, yeah, there's
Or
always...
no, I'm sorry. Not an agent. Is there any of the other descendant? Or, no, fuck that. Nostradamus is in my head. Mr. Nostradamus. I would like to talk to him.
I'm busy reading. Shut up.
I'm also busy reading, so you're going to listen to me because you're in my head.
Why do they not have good pastries here?
Good question. I don't know. Is Thomas Edison a descendant? Or does he have a descendant in him?
Still alive.
As far
Does
as
he
you
have-
know, Edison is a
Anyone is
dreamer. Whether or not he's acquired a descendant, you're not really sure. That information.
That's why I'm asking Nostradamus.
Oh, we are not aware who our other descendants are. We come into existence when we are needed. And it's not as if you get the entirety of our life.
But you get the intelligence of the other person in the head, correct?
Well, you get a fractured time of us based on your immediate needs and familiarities. You are a master of the medicines. I, too, studied alchemy in great depth. So, that is the part of me that you've gotten.
So I would like you to understand why I'm reading this specifically.
Oh, I think I understand why. But whether or not I know he's a descendant or is acquired to one, that would not be information I would have.
I feel like it would be either a descendant or maybe he's gotten access to knowledge beyond himself.
I can
Either
tell
way.
you this, based on what I'm reading, this individual is dabbling more of things of your world than our world.
This is true.
His combined metallurgy, engineering, sure, he's taken advantage of manufacturing processes here, but all of the augmentations he seems to be focusing on have a lot to do with infusions and magics and creationism. These are not things of our world. Our understanding of this is very limited in scope. We actually find this repulsive.
Why? Wouldn't anyone want to live forever?
Have you not read the book of Frankenstein?
No. What is this?
Well,
I've heard of the childhood story about some monster that ran around and killed people.
it's
But
an
I don't really
allegory.
understand the reference.
It's an allegory. Frankenstein is a product of industry. He is a monster. We find it repulsive that industry would make a monster. There are not enough smart engineers to understand what Edison has written in these volumes. This has been written in collusion with someone who clearly understands these things. Yeah.
I'd love to know who that person is.
I
His
I s-
understanding.
I suspect
bring
it's not of
me-
our world. Some of these writings I do not even understand. My knowledge is of a different time, yes, but I understand chemical reaction. I understand the basics of alchemy and black powder and what these things mean and how chemicals work. I've always understood this. I understand the basic concept of disease. I just didn't know it the way that you and yours know it. I knew it differently then. And I practiced different ways of treating people. But even with my advanced understanding of a very creative idea of the world, these volumes are very difficult even for me. Look at page 242 of volume 3. He is talking about taking an organically made infused wire, running it up the spine of a creature, using an infusion stone master worked and crafted within the gear rhythmic understanding of alchemy, and then that replacing the motor function of a spine. I have no clue what any of that shit means.
So, question: am I getting that he knows the knowledge that's in my head?
He's combining his and your head almost. Like he's at a crossroads. He understands what's in your head and he's learning that. But you've also compartmentalized yourself in such a way to only reveal so much. So he's also struggling with that limitation.
I will say, maybe if I give you more knowledge on modern medicines of what I've learned in your world since you have passed on, maybe you would understand more.
This is possible.
I don't know how to give you. Explain to me the process of how I give you that access.
I kind of was hoping you could explain it to me.
Oh, this is going to be very hard between us, isn't it? uh, I look at it and I think I start thinking of all the knowledge that I've been gaining over the past 10 years and the doctors, the multiple engineers and doctors that I've been around and the researchers and all these medical documentation, how I learned to love modern medicine, and all the documentation that came with that.
And as you're doing that, random, you watch as a very, very, very interesting individual comes into the library, sees you, and makes an immediate beeline towards you. He is very thin and very gaunt. His skin is pale and overly stretched, almost like paper. His eyes are hollowed out, kind of translucent pupil-like. They don't even have dilation. This individual comes over and stands next to you and goes, "Pardon me, are you Mr. Random Ward?"
Yes.
Could you
This
come
is he.
with me, please? The engineers would like to speak to you about your vehicle.
Okay. By this point, I asked for another book. A biography of Al Capone.
Okay.
And I get up I light a match and light my cigarette, and then I put the book on fire and I throw it in a bin, and I follow him out.
There's immediate pandemonium as the invisible servants come over and immediately use their innate magic to put out the fire. The book is immediately repaired and set back upon the shelf as you walk out the door with the very hollow, gaunt-looking individual who's got very long arms, very long legs, and he's just walking, taking you down a very long hallway to a series of stairs. You begin to go down these metallic stairs that carry you down maybe about 30 or 40 feet out into a massive open garage space. You look over and you're like, you think that's your vehicle. It's hard to tell. It's been augmented and changed quite heavily. As you stand there staring at it, what was once a very simple, open, almost like a paddy wagon style truck, just simple bench seat in the front, cargo carrying capacity in the back, double doors that would normally pull open. It is now something quite different. Whatever they've covered it with is almost like a series of ceramic-like plates. These thin ceramic tiles have been attached to the vehicle. You now have a cupola on top of the running bench portion of the vehicle. You can see a heavy machine gun has been mounted and is currently in the process of being disguised. You also could see that the cargo capacity has been doubled and an extra axle has been put on the vehicle. You can also see that the hoods of both sides of the vehicle are up. The engine has been pulled out and some other kind of device has been placed inside of it. You can see a series of very heavy crystals that have been infused into these like metallic-like cylinders with a series of coils and wraps of wire kind of coming and going as it's an engine that you're completely unfamiliar with. You can see that they've completely detached the exhaust system. You can see that they're currently in the process of putting in blind windows that can immediately reveal themselves and be hidden at the same time. The gaunt man looks at you and points to a series of gnomes that are spread around a drafting table, and they've got a blueprint out and a document. They're all wearing very Grease Monkey style of gear, just heavy leather aprons, mostly bald heads, glasses. Some are wearing Oculus style goggles. There's heavy machinery everywhere, welding tools, cutters, everything you can imagine is here. And the place is a cacophony of laboratory engineering and mechanics going on. And you can hear that the gnomes are all kind of arguing with each other. There's one particular human standing there. He looks more Terran, actually, than human. His arms are crossed, and he's looking down. And he goes, well, I don't care. It's not going to fit, so it's not going in. We cannot put that on there. It'll overweight the truck too much. It won't be able to go fast enough. And then the gnome's like, it's going to be useless without it. So I don't understand why we just don't take away the plate, and we put that in instead. And the gaunt man kind of motions you in that direction. The Terran kind of looks up to see you and goes, Random, could we have a word with you, please?
It's beautiful. It's truly beautiful.
I understand that you think it's beautiful. I get that. We want all of those of your kind that do this type of field work. This could be something you work out of for extended periods of time. So we're trying to work on a couple situations here. One, how good of a driver are you really?
I can get by.
Top heavyweight, drag, push and pull. You understand all the mechanics of having a well-balanced vehicle if you're going to travel at high rates of speed.
No. I have a driver for that.
How good's your
But
driver?
I could learn. He's pretty good.
So he could teach you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could learn.
So this is now a 3-axle vehicle. We've put heavy bullet-resistant tires on it, and we put heavy ceramic plate on it. Short of a high velocity shell, it should be quite resistant. All the gnomes kind of like bobbing their heads up and down, but it's too heavy in my opinion. My concern is this thing's going to be too top heavy. None of these individuals here agree with me. Would you be so kind as to give it a test drive really quick and see what you think? You hear a clack, clack sound as the hood of the vehicle is closed. You watch as pulleys and gears get pulled away from it to free it up to be driven by you.
I look at the car and I look back and I say, what was your name again?
Oh, my name is Jameson. What is yours?
My name's Random, but you could call me Dummy.
Oh, that's okay.
And then I'm gonna go over to the gnomes, and then I'm gonna say, now culturally, would I know if the gnomes are uncomfortable with physical contact?
The handful that you've dealt with in your particular profession, they seem to be okay with it.
Okay, I go to each one, and then I just touch. I'm like wearing decently nice clothes, and I just go and I just embrace each one, and I kiss them on the forehead, and I say,
Aw.
my friends, you guys.
I told you
You
these
guys did
Terrans are really
wonderfully.
fucking weird. They kiss all. You know, in Italy, they kiss you in both cheeks.
The Italians are weird, but
How do you tell Terrans apart?
you don't.
Uh,
Except there's this one that I saw that's really weird. So some you could tell apart, but
oh.
if you, my friends, think that this vehicle is good enough, then I'll take your words for it. And I'm speaking only to the gnomes.
Oh, well, we think it's good. It's well balanced. It's a little on the heavy side, but we think if your driving skills are good enough, you can certainly be able to drive this thing quite fast.
I look at it, and I look at them, and I say, if you have faith in my driving skills, then I have faith in your engineering capabilities. Thank you, my friends. And then I'm going to go and test drive it.
Okay. As you make your way over to the truck, you first look in the cargo section of the truck. The interior of the cargo section has been converted in such a way that people could live, work, operate in the back of this vehicle now. There's a series of, there's a small table with some small seating associated to it. You can see that there's metal cabinets, almost like lockers. Each one's labeled, firing equipment, ammunition, rappelling gear, diving gear. There's all these different like compartments that hold all of this gear and equipment. There's even some strange equipment there that doesn't look familiar to you. There's a big coiled up cable on the wall of the interior of the cargo van or truck, and then a giant like radio set of some sort, a big oversized handset telephone on it. And it looks like maybe you remember field telephones from your days in the war, but this looks a little bit more robust. Looks like it's a little bit more refined. Looks like something that could tap into existing lines and be used out in the field for particularly, spy type of work. You can see where the big, huge belts of machine gun ammo are being fed in and out of this large metal box right underneath the cupola. And the cupola seems to be able to drop down to the interior of the truck to allow it not to be seen. You then walk past the passenger side. You kind of wrap the ceramic and it nearly makes your knuckles split. It's clearly designed for protection. You roll around. You can hear the engine but not smell it. It's kind of weird. There's no exhaust. There's no combustion. It's just this steady thrum of electrical pulse and occasionally a blue flare of light out the sides of the way the winged form of the hood. Not like our hoods now where it's from the front and up. They lift up from the sides so you can have easier access to the engine. God knows why that design ever disappeared. You kind of make your way over to the driver's side. And as you go to unlock the door, you see a glyph on the handle of the door, and you wave your hand in front of it, and the door pops open on its own as the magical ward allows you to get in. You can hear a gnome behind you. It's been biometrically associated to you and your friends. Only you and your friends can come in and out of the truck. Little Romney over there came up with that one. He thought that would be really cool.
Where's Romney?
You watch as another gnome comes
go
over.
over.
That's me right here. I do all the magical infusions for the vehicle. I thought maybe
I give him another hug and a kiss, and then I say,
it's okay. Spanish
Can
flu and all,
we-
6 feet.
can we disable the unlocking system for everybody else and just keep it just to me?
Well, the access points would be required for you and all your teammates. I mean, are you referring to just the driver's side?
No, I mean everything.
Well,
Can I leave it unlocked? Can you create that capability?
I can try. It might take a little bit more time. Maybe a different ward or a different glyph to do that, possibly.
My friends, the orcs, have told me of the great engineering prowess of the gnomes in the old world.
Well, that's very true.
I believe that this will be a cakewalk for you, my friend.
Give me a persuasion check.
Woo! Nat 3, baby!
Oh, no.
Well, we can't
Totally
really.
turned off.
We really don't have the ability to do that. It's either all or nothing. But we'll look into it.
I'm certain the technology is extremely difficult, and it is no statement on your ability. I know that it's a big ask, and so
And
just
as you
consider it.
step into the cab of the truck, even the seat cushion has been replaced. You begin to realize it's been upgraded slightly for a bit more of a comfortable drive. The strangest thing of all is the fact that there is a series of crystalline, kind of like emblazoned stones in the dashboard of the truck. And each one of those are kind of like infused with certain aspects. The gnome, after you close the door, kind of pulls himself up to he's on the runner board and lifting himself up to the window's edge and looked in. He goes, those 3 stones do things. The blue one puts up a shield around the truck. The green one allows you to go underwater. And then the red one, well, that one you should only use in case of emergencies. We're not allowed to have our stuff fall into the wrong hands. If you're in deep trouble and you can't get out, just hit that button. Everything will be fine.
Would it be fine for me if I press the button?
Not right now. I wouldn't recommend doing it now. It's one of those last-ditch
I
things.
mean, in that last-ditch effort, should I send my friends away before I press the button?
If they're still alive, that'd probably be a good idea.
Okay. This is magnificent, my friends.
Oh, wait till you hear the engine. And he gets down off the runner board. You go to reach for the key. There's no key. There's a button. Press a button.
Oh, button.
The whole hum of the engine is just magic in nature. Just it's like just this steady hum and thrum, pulsing arc lights coming out from underneath the dash. And you just kind of sit there thinking to yourself, if all I get out of this is this truck, that would be pretty fucking cool. And that's where we're going to end tonight, folks, as it is past 10 o'clock. How does that 3 hours just zip by like that?
Oh, so fast.
So
I
join
I also
us.
say, sorry.
Join us next week as they make their way towards Thinville to begin trying to figure out and track down where this goblin came from, find out what happened to the other agents, and basically let them go down a rabbit hole that'll take them to the very center of the earth, well, they'll blow up everything because that's what they do.
Sounds fun.
So thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks for joining us. We will be on again Friday night with Age of Arcanum. So come on back and check that out. Be with a totally different group. That is our Dark Sun themed homebrew, or Dark Sun inspired homebrew. Lots of fun. Come check us out on Friday night, 7 to 10 West Coast time. Other than that, as I always say, please stay safe, be kind, and play a game. And don't forget to join our Discord. Bye, everybody.
Bye.